Oh, hello, it's Tai Tai here, and today I have an awesome truck that's as old as me with Kelley, and it's a 91 Ford F-250 that's been in the family since new, right?
Yep.
And I don't get to drive it because I'm not special enough, but Kelley's going to drive it, and we're going to go for a little spin and talk about why this truck is so special to her and the family. Go.
All right. Okay. God. I don't know.
When was the last time you drove it?
It's been a while. It's been a while.
So your grandfather bought the truck new?
Yeah. So Ty, this is kind of a cool story. So my grandpa, Jim,
Yep.
lived in Bakersfield, and he actually, when he passed away, my mom and her siblings asked if, I wanted $10,000, and Grandpa wanted to give us all the grandkids some money, and I said, well, while I'm young and $10,000 would go a long way for me, I would really prefer just to have something at Grandpa's. And they said, well, what would you want? And I said, well, the truck.
The truck.
I like the truck.
Yeah.
And so they said, really? And I said, yep, that's kind of what I'd like. And so took a month or so, we went down, we picked up the truck. It cost me a fortune to drive back because it's a gas guzzler.
Yes, so this is the 7.5 liter gas engine, which normally the liter doesn't equal the miles per gallon, but in this it does. You only get like 7 miles a gallon, right? Like
yes, I mean, it's horrible. Yeah. So we thought, well, this would be a great, just a great truck to have. And
yeah.
Grandpa drove it out to the ranch. He drove it back and forth to Bass Lake. I mean, he really put the miles on it. It was truly a work truck.
Yeah.
And just from the very beginning, I would go up to Bakersfield and spend time with my grandparents all the time. And we'd always go to the candy store in this. And so I just can remember, Grandpa starting it up in the morning and getting it all warmed up. And then we'd hop in, we'd head over to the candy store, and he'd park in his personal place, and we'd spend the day at the candy shop. We'd have mini treats, and then we'd drive back. And then just years later, I can just recall him bringing this up to the lake, and if he was fencing, he'd have fence materials in the back of it. It was cool.
But what's crazy is it only has 78,000 miles on it.
I know.
So even all of that stuff, doing all of that, he clearly babied it.
Oh, he did.
It's like pristine.
And when I got it, it had way less than that. So the story around this truck is that we live in Paradise Valley, Nevada, which is a super rural area. And the kids, my kids, Shane and Carly, would drive this back and forth to school. And it made me feel good because it's a big hunk of metal.
Yeah.
And US 95 is just a two-way road. And so
Lots
it just
of
made me
accidents.
feel comfortable, but gas was a lot cheaper then. And so it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
And I had to make them promise not to take this off-road, which I'm sure they broke those promises. But
I can't confirm or deny that. I have not heard any stories, I promise.
But I think just the neat part was that I still have something from my grandpa, which is just so neat. Every time I drive it, I think about him. And it just was really cool that both of the kids, this was their high school car, and everyone thought it was cool, driving around in the truck. And then how the name Dixie came up, we just thought she looked like a Dixie, and the kids named her.
Okay.
And so that's how we came to get...
I was wondering when that name came in. Like, was it before the kids started driving it or around their time? And that's cool.
And the kind of the sad thing is then when I moved away from Paradise, we just put Dixie, in the garage, and she was looking a little tattered from her years of high school with the kids.
And Nevada Sun.
And the Nevada Sun, yep. And so we just decided that, I said, gosh, I think I just want to fix her up and, kind of a little tribute to Grandpa and all the years that Dixie's been so good to us. So I had her painted in Carson City. The guy did a really great job.
And did he do the same color, or is it a little bit of a different white?
It's actually the same color.
White? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the same color. It maybe is a little bit wider, but he said
Okay.
it was the original. I don't know. I think years of sun,
Yeah,
you know?
it just messes with your eye once you look at it.
We did take off the black side strips or something.
Yeah, because back then they just like put 3M tape ones on that were. I mean, they did that last year too with them. They're kind of cheapo stickers.
Yeah. So it was funny when we went there. One of them was peeling off a little bit, and the guy, I hadn't even said, "Yeah, I want you to paint it." We just went for a little quote, and he just ripped it off, and my heart just dropped.
A piece
I'm
of
like,
the truck came off with it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, what are you doing? I said, I want to save those. And he's like, oh, you can get, I go, I want to save them. And so he put them in the back, and of course I didn't save them, but we ended up, I'm like, well, now I guess I have to get it painted. So that's how we got
funny.
it painted, and I was so excited to.
And I heard you're very passionate about the side steps that are on it.
Well,
The
everyone
aluminum
tells
side
me to take
steps.
them off. Shane's like, Mom, you got to get bigger tires, you got to lift it a little bit, and I haven't done that yet.
No, but it's fun that it's because those were on it when your grandfather drove it, right?
Yeah,
So it just keeps it historical, and
well,
I
he's
like
just
that.
a little short. He was a short, candy man, we called him. And so the side steps were really helpful for him.
Yeah. So he bought it new in '91.
He did.
Man, that's so cool. These trucks are like really holding their value. So I told you earlier what they're going, but like this one would fetch 13 to 15,000.
That's crazy.
Which is insane. And I would never sell this truck. Obviously, I know you wouldn't either. But it's just crazy that people are getting that for a 30-year-old, now a 31-year-old truck, right? And because the Shane Silverado, which we're going to film after I help on the ranch today, if I'm alive, still. That's a 97, and those are holding their value. But there's something about this 8th generation and the one after it that people just love, that boxier style. And they're, it's the first years of the fuel injection, and the 4-wheel drive system's a little different, but people love these things. And it's just crazy that they're getting that type of money out of them. But it's so rare to see one like this in this shape.
Yeah, because when we got it, it had just a little less than 50,000. So the kids have put on all of that on.
Gotcha.
And really, we used to call this our dump truck. So we just drive it to the dump, and with leaves or garbage and paradise. And we'd always treat her nice, but we treat her a little bit nicer now that she's painted up. Yeah.
That's cool that it stayed in the family.
Well, and I really want to give this truck to Shane.
Yep.
And pass it on. So he takes great care of it, and the kids just loved driving this in school.
This
was
cool. This would be a cool truck to have as your first car.
Well, and it drives great. I mean, it's got air conditioning works. The seats are in good shape. The interior.
And everything's original.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Shane bumped up the radio a little bit.
That's right. It does have a Kenwood head
Yeah.
unit in it. That's true.
But it's great, and we still have the cool stickers from cross country at Lowry and volleyball, and this was a new windshield when I brought it up from getting painted on I-80, and this guy got me on my way up. Yep.
But was he a Ford guy, or he just liked the truck and
he just liked it?
This is just the truck I want.
Yeah, my grandpa had a lot of different cars. He liked Cadillacs, he liked Corvettes.
Okay.
And he had all of those. He had that truck called The Thing.
He had one of those?
He had one of those, yep. He had all these different vehicles, but I guess he liked Fords. Yeah, he had a couple Fords.
Ford trucks, but he liked the Cadillacs.
Oh yeah, and when I got into this for the very first time, I was in awe of. I had never seen a new truck.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty cool, and he just was. He used it as he said this is his work truck. So.
But it's just crazy that this was a work truck and it's in this good a shape.
I know.
Normally you hear work truck, and it's it's survived the test of time, but it's got 150,000 miles like Shane's truck, or it's just over 200, or it's just it's just every dent and scratch, and the interior is all tattered, and seats are ripped and everything. So when I hear like a work truck, he must have just like tiptoed into it every day to.
He had Beefalo up by Kernville, California.
Yeah.
But every place that he would go, he'd always have like a bag of. He called them cripple chews, the ones that weren't wrapped right, or something was wrong on them and they weren't perfect. And so he would go and he'd see the ranchers, and that would kind of be his way to kind of, so he'd take this truck and he'd have his chews, and he'd always, if he needed something from somebody or he hadn't met them yet, he'd always give them a thing of chews and kind of introduce himself. Hey, I'm Jim DeWar. And it was just, nostalgic. And so that's why, I mean, jumping in this truck, like even today, it just all kind of floods back, thinking about the trips to the candy store, Bass Lake, going to the dump
That's
up there. It's just cool.
Yeah, that's great. It's got so many memories for you
and
guys.
it drives great, and it's a good truck. So,
I mean, who would have thought 30 years ago that this thing would be close to what it was worth 30 years ago?
I know. I just think that I chose right.
Yeah.
Between 10,000
I think,
at the time.
Listen, if you took 10,000 then, and instead of the truck, you might not have made out as well if you invested that money compared to buying this truck.
I know. And it was so funny because I'd tell my husband, oh man, I am so glad I got this painted. Like when we had it in Carson, just for the few weeks that we did after, we would just go like on an evening drive, go get some yogurt, an ice cream cone. It was just so neat because it felt good, and people would kind of look at you as you went by because it was a nice old truck that looked good.
Yeah, definitely.
It was cool.
These trucks.
Now, do you want to drive this, or you good?
I'm good. I'm. Thank you for finally offering.
Well, you have to be nice to Dixie.
At the end of the interview, when we're almost back, but I appreciate the offer, but that's okay. I'm very excited to have been able to do this with you.
Oh, it's been
fun.
And
I appreciate it, and I'm super excited for this episode to come out because I think these trucks hold a special place in like people's hearts and what they love about 90s trucks in general, and so I really apprate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty.
Yeah, no problem.
It's been fun.
And now I get to go work all day.
That's right. Now we're going branding.
Yeah, the before and after shot is going to be, I think, pretty good. I'm going to get a rude awakening in terms of.
You're on ground crew.
Yeah, I'm on ground.
You're the workhorse.
I'm on ground crew, whatever that means. We'll see what happens, but I am looking forward to it. It should be fun. So
yeah.
Thanks a bunch.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.